The Mind Palace. Welcome to the ultimate memory quiz. We are about to explore a technique that transforms your brain into a supercomputer. Get ready to unlock the secrets of turning fleeting facts into permanent, vivid memories. Practical foundations. First, let's lay the groundwork with practical steps. We'll explore how to choose the right mental space and begin populating it with information. This is the essential first phase of building your own powerful memory palace. You're creating your very first memory palace. What is the most effective type of place to choose? A. A fictional castle from a fantasy novel. B. A completely empty, white virtual room. C. A complex, real-world location you have only seen once. D. Your own home or your daily route to work. D. Your own home or your daily route to work. Precisely. You must be the absolute master of the space. Your home is filled with years of spatial and emotional memory, making it the most solid ground you can possibly build on. A fictional or unfamiliar place is like trying to build a skyscraper on a swamp or recipe for disaster. You need to memorize a friend's new, complex Wi-Fi password, 8 hashtag TG underscore PL5. How do you best represent this in your palace? A. By writing the password on a mental blackboard. B. By repeating the password out loud while walking through your palace. C. By placing a generic computer router in a room. D. By creating a bizarre image, like an octopus, 8, tangled in a green, hashtag, garden hose, G, next to a pig, in a lake. D. By creating a bizarre image, like an octopus, 8, tangled in a green, hashtag, garden hose, G, next to a pig, P, in a lake. Yes, that is the glorious art of encoding. A simple password on a blackboard is forgettable. It's just more boring data. But a vivid, multi-sensory scene? An octopus wrestling a garden hose? That image has hooks, it has story, it has emotion. It will stick in your mind like glue. You're trying to memorize the key concepts of a psychology textbook. What is the most effective way to structure this? A. Place all the concepts randomly throughout your house. B. Assign one page of the book to each object in your palace. C. Create a main palace for psychology with subpalaces, rooms, for cognitive, behavioral, etc. D. Use a different, unrelated memory palace for every single chapter. C. Create a main palace for psychology with subpalaces, rooms, for cognitive, behavioral, etc. An architect's answer. You don't throw all your clothes in one giant pile. You use a dresser with drawers. The branching technique is that dresser. It creates order from chaos, turning a sprawling subject into a beautifully organized library of knowledge you can navigate with ease. To memorize a shopping list, milk, eggs, bread. What is the most effective mental scene to create? A. A giant bottle of milk pouring over a carton of eggs that are wearing bread shoes. B. Three separate, normal items placed on a mental table. C. The words milk, eggs, bread written in the air. D. A picture of a supermarket aisle. A. A giant bottle of milk pouring over a carton of eggs that are wearing bread shoes. Exactly. Why? Because it's absurd, it's interactive, and it tells a micro story. Your brain will latch onto the weirdness. The other options are static and boring. They're the mental equivalent of beige wallpaper, utterly forgettable. You're memorizing a list of historical dates. How do you make them stick? A. Anchor them to objects using bizarre, emotional, and personal images. B. Write the dates on the walls of your palace in your mind's eye. C. Simply repeat the dates and events over and over. D. Place a calendar in each room of your palace. A. Anchor them to objects using bizarre, emotional, and personal images. Yes, emotion is the superglue of memory. Don't just see the date 1776. See a firework for the 4th of July, exploding out of your television with one of your favorite historical figures giving you a thumbs up. Make it personal, make it strange, and your brain will refuse to let it go. You have created your first room with 5 memory items. What is the most critical next step to ensure they are not forgotten? A. Immediately add 50 more items to the room. B. Demolish the room and start over to test yourself. C. Try to use a different room the next day. D. Revisit the room and recall the items after a day, then a few days, then a week. D. Revisit the room and recall the items after a day, then a few days, then a week. This is the heartbeat of long-term memory. It's the principle of spaced repetition. Creating the palace is the first step, but visiting it at these specific, expanding intervals is what tells your brain, this is important. Do not delete it. It's the process of turning a sandy path into a paved highway. Advanced application. Now we're moving beyond the basics into the art of advanced application. We'll cover how to link information, handle abstract concepts like numbers, and make your recall fluid. This is how you go from a simple memory aid to a dynamic thinking tool. How do you best memorize a sequence, like the steps in a recipe? A. Use the story linking method to create a narrative between the loci. B. Place each ingredient in a separate, unconnected room. C. Use the exact same image for every single step. D. Memorize the recipe by repeating it while standing in one spot. A. Use the story linking method to create a narrative between the loci. Yes, don't just place objects, create a movie. The flower on your doorstep gets into a fight with the eggs on the couch, which then jump into the milk waiting by the fireplace. This creates a flowing journey, so recalling the sequence is as natural as telling a story you know by heart. You need to remember the number 559. Using a system like the major system, how might you encode this? A. By visualizing 3 separate numbers, 5, 5, and 9. B. By imagining a boring, gray rock in your palace. C. By creating a vivid image like a lava lamp. LVLMP-5859- close enough. D. By writing 559 on a mental post-it note. C. By creating a vivid image like a lava lamp. LVLMP-5859- close enough. A perfect example of turning the abstract into the concrete. Number systems allow you to translate meaningless digits into sounds, which then become images. A lava lamp is 1,000 times more interesting and memorable than the number itself. The other methods are simply lazy and ineffective for the brain. How would you use a time palace to remember the progression of a historical period? A. Place a giant clock in the center of the room. B. Use a different color for each decade. C. Let the images and objects in your palace appear to age or evolve as you walk through. D. Only use this palace for remembering your daily schedule. C. Let the images and objects in your palace appear to age or evolve as you walk through. A wonderfully subtle and powerful idea. You don't just place a static king in a room. You see him as a young man in the foyer, middle-aged in the living room, and old and gray by the time you reach the back porch. You're literally walking through a living, breathing timeline. You are memorizing a complex formula. What is the most effective strategy? A. Write the formula on a wall in your palace. B. Break the formula into components and create a bizarre story linking them. C. Repeat the formula out loud 10 times. D. Hope for the best. B. Break the formula into components and create a bizarre story linking them. Exactly. A formula is just a sentence in a different language. Break it down. E equals mc squared could be an elephant. E. Who meets equals sign. A monkey, M, and a cat, C, who are square dancing, 2. It sounds ridiculous, but that ridiculousness is precisely what makes it unforgettable. To learn a new language, how could you use the palace? A. Place random foreign words in your palace. B. Write grammar rules on the floor. C. Associate new vocabulary with objects in a room, creating immersive scenes. D. Only use flashcards and avoid the palace method. C. Associate new vocabulary with objects in a room, creating immersive scenes. Brilliant! You turn your own home into a language learning world. The Spanish word for window, ventana, isn't a word on a page. It's a giant fan, ventilator, blowing out of your actual window. You are creating a rich, contextual, 3D flashcard you can walk around in. You have to give a speech without notes. How do you use a memory palace? A. Write the full speech on a mental teleprompter. B. Hope your memory is good enough on the day. C. Place one key concept or image for each section of your speech along a familiar route. D. Place one key concept or image for each section of your speech along a familiar route in your palace. D. Place one key concept or image for each section of your speech along a familiar route in your palace. This is the classic, original use of the technique. You're not memorizing every word. You are creating a series of signposts. As you give your speech, you mentally walk the route from your front door to your living room, couch, and each major locus triggers the next part of your talk. It makes your delivery fluid, confident, and natural. Scaling and mastery. This section is about going from a small mental cottage to a sprawling city of knowledge. We'll cover how to expand your palaces without getting lost and how to integrate different memory techniques. This is the path to becoming a true memory athlete. You've mastered your first room and want to expand. What's the right way to scale up? A. Immediately try to build a palace the size of New York City. B. Build 10 more completely separate, unrelated rooms. C. Forget the first room and build a better one. D. Systematically add a new room or expand to the whole house, then the street, ensuring clear connections. D. Systematically add a new room or expand to the whole house, then the street, ensuring clear connections. Of course, you must lay a single, perfect brick before you can build a cathedral. Master one room, then open a door to the next, then the hallway, then the street. It's an organic growth, an expansion from a solid, reliable core that prevents you from getting lost in your own creation. You find your images are becoming blurry and confusing. What is the most likely cause and solution? A. You're not using enough detail. You should add more elements to each image. B. Your palace is too small. You need to build a bigger one. C. Your images are too complex or not distinct enough. Use single, striking, clear images. D. You're not using enough emotion. Try to make every image terrifying. C. Your images are too complex or not distinct enough. Use single, striking, clear images. A classic rookie mistake. You try to cram an entire encyclopedia into a single image, and it becomes a meaningless mess. The key is a single, striking, vibrant image. Think of a perfect, singular sculpture, not a cluttered antique shop. Clarity is king. How can you combine other memory tricks with your palace for maximum effect? A. Keep all techniques separate to avoid confusion. B. Only use the palace and ignore all other methods. C. Use the palace for facts and rote memorization for numbers. D. Integrate techniques, like using the peg word system to number your loci or weaving a story through them. D. Integrate techniques, like using the peg word system to number your loci or weaving a story through them. A masterstroke of integration. The palace is your canvas, but why use only one color? Weave a story through your loci. Use number systems to organize them. It's about creating a symphony of techniques where each part supports the others, creating an unshakable structure of knowledge. You need to memorize the periodic table. What is a good advanced strategy? A. Place all 118 elements in a single line in a long hallway. B. Create a branching palace, a main hall for the table, with side rooms for each group, like noble gases or halogens. C. Memorize the song by Tom Lehrer and hope for the best. D. Write the symbols on a mental chart. B. Create a branching palace, a main hall for the table with side rooms for each group, like noble gases or halogens precisely. This is a perfect use for a hierarchical structure. A long, undifferentiated line of elements is confusing, but a palace with a room for the alkali metals, where each object represents an element in that family, creates logical, organized, and unforgettable groupings. When creating a palace for a new topic, what should you do first? A. Plan the route and the main loci before you start placing information. B. Immediately start creating bizarre images for the facts. C. Read the entire subject material 3 times over. D. Find a pre-made digital palace online to save time. A. Plan the route and the main loci before you start placing information. An architect surveys the land before laying the foundation. You must define your path. Is it a walk through your house? A journey through your town? Knowing your route and your key locations beforehand gives you a clean, reliable structure to work with, preventing confusion later on. You have two memories that are very similar, and you keep mixing them up. What is the best solution? A. Place them right next to each other in the same locus. B. Make their images wildly different and exaggerated, focusing on a key distinction. C. Remove one of the memories from the palace. D. Rebuild your entire palace from scratch. B. Make their images wildly different and exaggerated, focusing on a key distinction. Exactly. Don't just separate them, make them mortal enemies. If you're confusing two historical figures, imagine one juggling fire and the other swimming in ice. Exaggerate the one thing that makes them different until the idea of confusing them becomes laughable. The Digital Apprentice. Prepare to be amazed as we fuse this ancient art with cutting-edge technology. We'll explore how you can use modern tools to build, maintain, and enhance your palaces. This is where your smartphone or VR headset becomes a powerful apprentice in your quest for knowledge. You want to build a palace, but have trouble visualizing. What digital tool could you use to create a structured, 3D space? A. A simple text document or spreadsheet. B. A 3D modeling program like SketchUp or Blender. C. A photo editing app like Photoshop. D. A music creation app. B. A 3D modeling program like SketchUp or Blender. For the true architects among us. If you can't visualize it, build it. These tools let you construct your palace from the ground up, with every detail under your control. You are the creator, designing the perfect mental architecture that you can then visit and memorize in your mind's eye. You keep forgetting to review your palace at the right intervals. How can modern apps help? A. They can't. You have to rely on your own calendar. B. They can offer built-in spaced repetition system, SRS, reminders and quizzes. C. They will delete memories you forget to review. D. They automatically review the memories for you without your involvement. B. They can offer built-in spaced repetition system, SRS, reminders and quizzes. This is where digital tools truly shine. They take the genius of Ebbinghaus and automate it. The app can prompt you to revisit certain rooms at the perfect intervals, ensuring your memories are reinforced with maximum efficiency. It's like having a personal memory coach in your pocket. You live in a small apartment and feel you don't have enough space for a large palace. How can technology solve this? A. By reminding you to move to a larger house. B. By encouraging you to use smaller, less detailed images. C. By using a familiar VR environment, like a game world you know well, as an infinite palace. D. By telling you to memorize less information. D. By using a familiar VR environment, like a game world you know well, as an infinite palace. A brilliant solution. Your physical space is no longer the limit. A world from a game like Minecraft or a VR social space that you have spent hundreds of hours in is just as familiar, if not more sought than a physical building. It offers limitless potential for expansion. You want to practice your memory palace while on the go. What is a practical, tech-based approach? A. Carry a physical blueprint of your palace with you. B. Try to rebuild your palace in your mind with your eyes closed, which is unsafe while walking. C. Use an augmented reality, AR, app that can overlay your memory objects onto your real-world view. D. Only practice when you are at home and sitting down. C. Use an augmented reality, AR, app that can overlay your memory objects onto your real-world view. A glimpse into the future. You walk down a real street, and your phone shows you a shimmering, virtual dragon on a bench, reminding you of a key fact. It's the ultimate fusion of the digital and the physical, turning any walk into an immersive review session. How can you use gamification in digital palaces to stay motivated? A. By turning learning into a quest with points, levels, and even friendly competition. B. By making the palace so difficult to navigate that it feels like a challenge. C. By adding distracting pop-up ads to the experience. D. By requiring you to pay for each memory you store. B. By turning learning into a quest with points, levels, and even friendly competition. It taps into our innate love of play. Suddenly, learning isn't a chore, it's a quest. You gain points for remembering, you level up your skills, you can even share your palace with friends and build a collaborative library of knowledge. It turns solitary study into a thrilling social adventure. You want to share a memory palace for a specific subject with a study group. What is the most effective way to do this? A. Describe the entire palace to them in a single, long monologue. B. Draw a map for them on a piece of paper. C. Use a collaborative digital or VR platform where the palace can be shared and explored by everyone. D. Insist that they all build their own identical physical palaces. D. Use a collaborative digital or VR platform where the palace can be shared and explored by everyone. Exactly. Technology turns a solitary mental construct into a shared, interactive world. Imagine a study group for anatomy walking through a giant, virtual human heart together, with each member placing memories and teaching the others. It is the future of collaborative learning. Real-world application. Let's look at how this technique is used outside of memory competitions. We'll see how students, professionals, and everyday people apply these methods to learn and remember practical information. These examples will show you that this is a skill for life, not just for the stage. A medical student needs to learn hundreds of anatomical terms. What did a key study suggest is the most effective approach? A. Having the students build their own personal memory palaces. B. Giving all students the exact same prefabricated digital palace. C. Relying solely on traditional textbook reading. D. Focusing only on rote repetition of the terms. A. Having the students build their own personal memory palaces. This is a profound insight. A palace you build yourself is infused with your own experiences and emotions. A pre-made palace is like wearing someone else's shoes. It might work, but it will never feel right. The most powerful learning is forged in the architecture of your own mind. Alex Mullen, a memory champion, taught his grandmother a simple list of words. What does this success demonstrate? A. That the technique is only for the elderly. B. That the method is too complex for simple tasks. C. That the memory palace is a natural and accessible skill for everyday tasks, not just for experts. D. That you need a world champion to teach you. C. That the memory palace is a natural and accessible skill for everyday tasks, not just for experts. A beautiful story. He didn't ask her to memorize pi. He took a simple shopping list and showed her the magic of using her own home as a palace. Her immediate success proves this isn't some esoteric art for geniuses. It's a fundamental human skill waiting to be unlocked. A Reddit user remembered 90% of their psychology material after a week using the palace. What practical lesson can we learn from this? A. That you should only study psychology with this method. B. That the memory palace dramatically improves long-term retention compared to passive methods. C. That Reddit is the only place to find good study tips. D. That traditional study methods are completely useless. A. That the memory palace dramatically improves long-term retention compared to passive methods. Look at that number, 90% versus the typical 40% from just rereading. That's not just an improvement, it's a revolution. It is the difference between pouring water into a leaky bucket and storing it in a watertight vault. It proves the active, creative process of building a palace leads to profoundly deeper encoding. High school teams in Hershey, Pennsylvania, train the memory palace as a mental sport. How can you adopt this mindset for your own learning? A. By making your practice sessions competitive and tracking your progress like an athlete. B. By finding a team to compete against. C. By only memorizing sports statistics. D. By getting a coach and training 8 hours a day. A. By making your practice sessions competitive and tracking your progress like an athlete. I love this. Don't just study, train, time yourself, track your recall accuracy, set personal bests. Turning learning into a game you play against yourself reframes the entire experience, making it more engaging, challenging, and ultimately more rewarding. You want to remember the names of new people you meet at an event. How would you apply the technique? A. Write their names down on your phone after they walk away. B. Create a bizarre image that links their name to their face and place that image on them. C. Repeat their name 5 times in your head. D. Ask them to spell their name for you. B. Create a bizarre image that links their name to their face and place that image on them. Yes, it's a micro palace on the person themselves. If you meet Mike, imagine him holding a giant microphone. If you meet Penny, imagine a shower of pennies falling on her head. It's a quick, effective way to turn a forgettable name into an unforgettable personal image. To remember your credit card number for online shopping, what is a practical palace-based method? A. Storing a picture of the card on your desktop. B. Breaking the number into 4-digit chunks and creating a story with 4 images along a very familiar short path, like from your desk to your kitchen sink. C. Writing it on a post-it note stuck to your monitor. D. Typing it into a password manager. B. Breaking the number into 4-digit chunks and creating a story with 4 images along a very familiar short path, like from your desk to your kitchen sink. A perfect, practical application. You take a short, unthinking route and place 4 vivid images. Maybe a giant swan, 2121, is at your desk, a CAR, 74, is by the door, a doll, 15, is in the hall, and a bomb, 939, is in the sink. It's fast, secure, and turns a string of numbers into a memorable little movie. Your first steps. This final section is your personal training plan. We'll give you simple, actionable steps to build your first palace and begin your transformation today. The path to a superpowered memory starts right here, right now. What is the single most important first step to your cognitive transformation? A. Reading 5 more books about memory. B. Watching a documentary about memory champions. C. Choosing one room, one single fact, and creating your first bizarre image right now. D. Designing a palace for all of human history. C. Choosing one room, one single fact, and creating your first bizarre image right now. Exactly. Not tomorrow, not after more research. Today, right now. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single imaginative step. The power is already in you. You just need to take that first playful leap and prove to yourself that it works. You are creating your first images. What is the best mindset to adopt? A. Be as logical and literal as possible. B. Embrace the absurd, the humorous, and the emotional. C. Worry about whether the image is perfect. D. Try to use images that other people have created. B. Embrace the absurd, the humorous, and the emotional. Your mind, your rules. This is not a rigid science. It's a personal art form. What makes you laugh? What surprises you? Your unique sense of humor and emotion is your most powerful tool. The more personal and creative you make your images, the more deeply they will be anchored. You build a small palace for a presentation. What should you do on the day of the event? A. Frantically try to add more information to it. B. Take a calm mental stroll through your palace a few times to refresh the journey. C. Try not to think about the palace at all in case you forget it. D. Rebuild the palace in a different location to make it stronger. C. Take a calm mental stroll through your palace a few times to refresh the journey. Exactly. It's a dress rehearsal in your mind. By calmly walking the path and visiting your images, you're warming up your brain and building confidence. It reminds you that the structure is sound and the knowledge is there, waiting to be effortlessly recalled. What is a great way to enhance your cognitive fitness in combination with the memory palace? Sitting perfectly still for hours. B. Engaging in regular physical activity like walking. C. Reducing your sleep to have more practice time. D. Listening to loud music while you practice. B. Engaging in regular physical activity like walking. The mind and body are not separate. They are a symphony. A healthy body fosters a healthy mind. The simple act of walking improves blood flow and cognitive function. Practice your mental walk through your palace while on a physical walk. It's a powerful, synergistic combination. What is the ultimate goal when you start expanding your palace from a room to a house? A. To fill every square inch with as much information as possible. B. To ensure the path from room to room is logical and something you'd never get lost on. C. To make the connections between rooms as confusing as possible to challenge yourself. D. To use the exact same objects in every room. C. To ensure the path from room to room is logical and something you'd never get lost on. The route is everything. The power of the palace comes from the automatic, unthinking nature of the journey. You never have to ask, what comes after my bedroom? You just know. This effortless navigation is what makes the recall of the information stored along the way so fluid and reliable. What is the key to mastering any complex subject with this technique? A. Realizing it will take years of dedicated, joyless effort. B. Finding a perfect, pre-made palace online. C. Accepting that it only works for visual learners. D. Trusting in the creative process of turning information into memorable, spatial stories. D. Trusting in the creative process of turning information into memorable, spatial stories. This is the heart of it all. It's not about having a good memory. It's about transforming your relationship with information. It turns the daunting task of learning into a playful, creative, and profoundly effective process. It gives you the confidence that no topic is too complex for your mind to conquer. You sit down to study a dry, boring textbook. What is your first palace-related action? A. Skim the chapter and identify the 5 to 7 most important concepts to turn into images. B. Read the entire chapter from start to finish and hope it sticks. C. Complain about how boring the textbook is. D. Decide to study something more interesting instead. A. Skim the chapter and identify the 5 to 7 most important concepts to turn into images. Yes, you are a hunter, not a passive grazer. You don't just absorb, you actively seek out the key pillars of knowledge in the text. By identifying the core ideas first, you can then build a solid, memorable structure around them, rather than getting lost in the weeds of unimportant details. What is a sign that you are becoming a master of this technique? A. You no longer need to use bizarre images. B. You find yourself automatically turning everyday information, like a phone number or a name, into images. C. You can memorize a deck of cards in under 30 seconds. D. You never forget anything ever again. B. You find yourself automatically turning everyday information, like a phone number or a name, into images. It has become second nature. This is the goal. It's no longer a conscious, clunky process, but a smooth, automatic way your mind interacts with the world. You have fundamentally changed how your brain processes and stores information.